Chapter 921 921 Killing until no one dares to fight. 5. 921 Killing until no one dares to fight. 5. This was still the result of the totems helping their audiences behind them resist the power. The fiery red dragon roar was mainly focused on the fire arena. The main target was Shiyu. At this moment, Shiyu should be under the most terrifying pressure. Voice and deterrence are intertwined. Dragon might is powerful to begin with, not to mention that the Fire Dragon King has trained deterrence to perfection. Coupled with its voice-type unique skill, even ordinary overlords will probably instantly submit to its domineering aura. A beast tamer from the totem country covered his ears and said those words. The overlord beside them couldn't deny it either. They were very serious. A deterrence competition? M.I. Kill it! Kai Tong's sword cry echoed. This deterrence was far inferior to Buggy's dragon might. All right, kill it. At this moment, Shiyu, who was holding Kai Tong, the surrounding blue psychic waves were instantly dyed orange-red. His body began to become blurry and hot, and red fire threads erupted and lingered around him. His blue eyes instantly turned into red, and his gaze seemed to contain flames. Apart from that, his hair color instantly changed from black to red. High-level undead skill, possession. This undead even knows this move. Suddenly, the beast tamers and overlords of the various countries recognized this skill and widened their eyes. They suddenly remembered that talent skills such as fusion, possession, and loading could be used by beast tamers and pets together. The enhancement of the battle power of both parties depended on the strength of the beast tamer and the pet. Shiyu's strength was already very terrifying. How strong would he become after being possessed by an undead pet? For a moment, the various factions couldn't imagine it. That sword spirit possession is very strong. In Minghua, Amy Rui, who had once controlled the Golden Phoenix Dragon Sparrow to lose to Shiyu, and the Minghua Beast Tamer who had watched this battle said extremely seriously. Unfortunately, the undead that possessed Shiyu was still at the monarch level. If an overlord-level undead possessed Shiyu, it might really be able to fight the Fire Dragon King. At this moment, Shiyu was continuing to transform. With a boom, countless fire threads approached. A fierce spiritual aura that was like the flames of the sun turned into flames that wrapped around Shiyu's entire body. At this moment, Shiyu's entire body was thinner but more powerful. At this moment, Shiyu's aura had completely changed. He no longer looked like a human. The emotions in his eyes had faded a lot, and a shocking deterrence erupted from his body. Shiyu's quasi-totem soul, together with the full-level possession of the undead Kai Tong, instantly made their common battle power level reach the invincible overlord level. Boom! At that moment, the deterrence of the Fire Dragon King, together with the sound wave, materialized into a fire dragon and came over violently. At this moment, Shiyu, who had instantly completed possession, was not to be outdone. Boom! Accompanied by a high cry, the aura on the red-haired sword god Shiyu shot into the sky. Flames erupted, and a shocking phoenix might swept up from the flames. Orange flames that shot into the sky completely filled the sky. The dazzling flames turned into a phoenix. The phantom of a huge fiery red bird soared in the flames in midair. The crown-like feather crown on its head displayed the might of the king of birds. Dao proficiency, Phoenix might. Bang! Two substantial deterrence forces instantly fought. Crack! This collision immediately made the expression of the Fire Dragon King change. Just now, the Fire Dragon King could be said to disdain Shiyu, but at this moment, as Kai Tong's full-level possession fused their soul power into one, it displayed the greatest possession effect and erupted with a higher proficiency deterrence. Moreover, it was the Phoenix might that was not inferior to the Dragon might. In an instant, the Fire Dragon King's expression was stunned. Roar! Jew! The dragon roar and Phoenix cry still echoed in Inatella. The huge deterrence collision almost made the overlords present unable to breathe. About a few seconds later, with a crack, it was as if space had shattered. The deterrence of both parties scattered. The Fire Dragon King flew up, and its unstoppable dragon might was resisted. Its red eyes instantly looked at Shiyu crazily. He actually blocked it. At the same time, when they discovered that Shiyu had easily resisted the Fire Dragon King's dragon might, many spectators widened their eyes in disbelief. After all, there was an entire level of difference between the two parties. At that moment, all the beast tamers of the 7 countries suddenly looked at the red-haired and red-eyed flame sword god. Looking at his calm face, they suddenly felt a chill. The trump cards of the 7 countries, including Yixing, revealed incredulous expressions. No way, this kid didn't really have the strength to fight the Fire Dragon King, right? President Lin. At this moment, President Lin had already returned to the side of the contestants of Dong Huang. When Divine Bell saw him, she immediately asked, "Do you know that Shiyu was going to fight?" President Lin looked into the distance in silence and said, "I know. Let him give it a try." "I see. One is a human fusion pet, and the other is a pet fusion human." At the same time, the boar god discovered that Shiyu could really be evenly matched with the Fire Dragon King and couldn't help but be shocked. At their level, this increase was indeed extraordinary. It could even be said to be terrifying. Wu, beside him, the World Tree clone, was also very shocked. It didn't expect that the hybrid sword spirit could erupt with such power after possessing Shiyu. Boom! The battle continued. Shiyu's figure had already flashed from the ground and arrived in the air. He floated in the air and looked at the Fire Dragon King in front of him. He directly slashed out with his sword. Chapter 922, 922 Kill until no one dares to fight, 6. 922 Kill until no one dares to fight, 6. Swoosh! Shiyu's sword landed. Countless people looking at the sky felt that the light in front of them was snatched away in the blink of an eye, and the world seemed to have fallen into darkness. At this moment, the Fire Dragon King was feeling it the most until a light appeared in front of him. A sun fireball seemed to appear in front of him. It was a sword light. A sun flame sword light that seemed to have broken through the darkness streaked across, turning into a terrifying fire sword aura that attacked the soul. Little brat, don't underestimate people too much. Boom! In the sky, the battle armor on the Fire Dragon King's body emitted light. It released a terrifying killing intent, and its entire body was wrapped in the light of the dragon flame. With the huge sword light that enveloped half the venue, it flew towards Shiyu. Endless sword light landed on the Fire Dragon King's body. What shocked many people was that Shiyu's powerful attack actually didn't leave any traces of injuries on the Fire Dragon King's armor body. Instead, it was instantly absorbed. Even Shiyu frowned slightly at this scene. As expected, it's not enough. Seeing that Shiyu's attack was ineffective against the armored Flame Dragon King, many people's hearts skipped a beat. If it couldn't break through its defense, how could they fight? Roar! After resisting Shiyu's attack, the Fire Dragon King flew over and raised its huge dragon claw in the air. A black dragon god phantom condensed on its claw, and together with the explosive flames, it swept up an incomparable destructive concept. Dragon God Claw! Boom! Space kept distorting. This super skill is an inheritant skill of the Dragon Empire. It's infinitely powerful. When trained to the extreme, it points to the law of destruction. At this moment, seeing the Fire Dragon King use this move, the expressions of many factions changed. This move was also the signature skill of the Black Dragon ruler of the Dragon Empire, but the Black Dragon ruler had already trained to the level of a quasi-divine skill. With a claw, a country could be destroyed. Although the Fire Dragon King's Dragon God Claw had yet to reach that level, from its power, it was clearly a super skill cultivated by the Fire Dragon King. As expected, it's still too difficult. On Dong Huang's side, Divine Source and President Lin's hearts tightened. Lu Qingyi, Senior Panda, the Beast-Eared Girl, and the others also felt worried for Shiyu. The Dragon God Claw attacked. On the other side, Shiyu took a deep breath. On the sword in his hand, hot orange-red sun flames and blue-purple ghost flames condensed. The terrifying interlocking sword turned into a sword pressure and was released to resist the Dragon God Claw with a boom. Yin-Yang interlocking sword. At this moment, Shiyu raised his arm. The yin-yang interlocking sword condensed in his hand and quickly landed. With a loud bang, at this moment, blue-purple nether ghost flame lingered on Shiyu's body, and orange-red sun flames flowed. Under the interweaving of the two intertwining powers, Shiyu's aura increased further. Boom! In an instant, the yin-yang interlocking sword pressure domain that bloomed in front of Shiyu collided with the dragon god claw that the Fire Dragon King waved. Boom! The two forces squeezed together, and a world-shaking aura penetrated the sky and ground. During this process, countless fire sword shadows overlapped on Kai Tong's body. Shiyu and the other's strength was still rising steadily. Profundity, myriad sword convergence. Boom! Initially, everyone thought that Shiyu would definitely be instantly defeated under this attack. However, Shiyu's resistance method exceeded everyone's imagination. A huge power erupted from the sword in Shiyu's hand, and the terrifying yin-yang interlocking sword pressure instantly formed a confrontation with the Dragon God Claw. Roar! The huge Fire Dragon King waved its huge claws, and the tiny Shiyu resisted with the sword pressure. The style of the two parties distorted at this moment. The Fire Dragon King, Punkham, had an extremely serious expression. He didn't understand why a mere level 6 beast tamer, together with a monarch-level pet, could take his Dragon God Claw head-on. At this moment, Shiyu was also extremely silent. His clothes and hair were blown by the strong wind, and his body, mind, and soul were already under pressure. He understood that under normal circumstances, it would probably be very difficult for him to be a match for this Fire Dragon King with Kai Tong. The interlocking sword plus sun flame plus nether ghost flame plus myriad sword convergence plus possession beast actually couldn't even break through its defense. The invincible overlord of a demigod faction was indeed extraordinary. Speaking of which, is this really a battle between overlords? The overlords of the various factions looked at the collision of the two parties in shock. They were very certain that if this wasn't the sturdy Inatella, the surrounding venue and space would definitely have shattered. In the alternate space, the Black Dragon ruler of the Dragon Empire looked at the two parties who collided indifferently. The Dragon God of Dragon Palace City also watched everything calmly. The Dragon Empire and Dong Huang's bloodline were also in a feud. It was very likely that this battle would end with one side dying. Not only did the two factions understand, but the personnel of the other countries also knew very well. At this moment, the World Tournament had already begun. Be it the Fire Dragon King or the Dark Elven King, these popular contestants who could win the World Tournament might die early in the mythical trial. Eliminated. Roar. Die. In midair, a violent expression flashed in the Fire Dragon King's eyes. At this moment, what shocked many people was that the battle armor wrapped around the Fire Dragon King's body directly turned into flowing light and gathered on the Fire Dragon King's sharp claws. It formed a huge claw armor. At this moment, the power of the Fire Dragon King seemed to have increased several times. With a boom, the yin-yang interlocking sword pressure controlled by Shiyu shattered with a crack. An incomparably terrifying shock wave instantly swallowed Shiyu opposite without a trace, turning into a shocking wave that crushed the ground. Chapter 923, 923 Killing until no one dare to fight, 7. 923 Killing until no one dare to fight, 7. Boom! Light flashed. The huge Dragon God Claw wave landed on the ground. 3 huge pits that were more than 10 meters deep immediately appeared in the fire venue divided by the Boar God. The Rift Valley was filled with shocking dragon flames, and Shiyu's figure seemed to have been thrown into the abyss. Shiyu, seeing this, Jiao Shen, Zhu Yun, Ji Feng, and the others were suddenly shocked. They looked at the energy aftermath that had yet to disappear and searched for Shiyu. It was over? That abnormal Shiyu had also failed? Holy shit, is that all right? The overlords like the prediction owl of Imperial Capital University also said in shock. As the cat bit the fruit, it said solemnly, it should be fine. That kid's other pets are very strong. They won't be killed. At most, they'll be eliminated because they sent more pets to violate the rules. The Flame Dragon King's claw directly sent Shiyu flying, directly letting everyone understand that level differences were indeed not that easy to cross. No matter how rich Shi Yu's foundation was, it was still a pipe dream for him to defeat an invincible overlord like the Flame Dragon King above his level. However, at the moment, everyone wanted to know more if Shi Yu, who had been sent flying by the Flame Dragon King, was alive or dead. If he was dead, it should have become a totem, right? If he was alive, where was it? He's fine. He suddenly became stronger and offset that attack. At this moment, the World Tree clone, the Boar God, looked at the shattered arena in surprise. In the underground cave that was like a flaming abyss, Shi Yu slowly flew up with a dry cough. At this moment, his clothes were already broken, but his state looked relatively intact. Even his expression didn't show much abnormality. At this moment, Shi Yu's arms had almost turned into huge phoenix wings. The flame of regeneration repaired his injuries. After slowly flying up, he landed on a rock pillar and looked up at the Fire Dragon King. His expression was unfriendly. Who? At this moment, the Flame Dragon King's expression changed, and its gaze was shocked. It didn't expect this kid to still be alive. How was this possible? Its attack should have heavily injured even a dragon that was also an invincible overlord. Why didn't this human look injured at all? Even if he had a recovery skill, it couldn't be so thorough. Shi Yu is fine. Look, he flew out again. It's better not to fight. On Imperial Capital University's side, Yin Jingfan had a worried expression. Although Shi Yu had done many unscientific and extremely ridiculous things in his eyes, his opponent was the heir of a demigod faction. Such a faction had once caused ancient Donghuang to fall into a state of collapse. Unlike his previous opponents, it was basically impossible to create another miracle. Initially, Yin Zhengfan, a little kid who had fought Shi Yu a few times, had already admitted that he was inferior to Shi Yu and hoped that Shi Yu could create more miracles. But now, he was only worried about Shi Yu's safety and hoped that Shi Yu wouldn't force things. There's no problem, right? This is the first time I've seen Brother Shi Yu so tired. Seeing that Shi Yu was fine, Zheng Hai and the others heaved a sigh of relief. They were first shocked by Shi Yu's shocking possession strength, but then they were shocked by the exaggerated power of the Fire Dragon King. Zheng Hai had seen his master's strength. Although the strength of the Flame Dragon King was inferior to his master's Tyrannical Sea Legend's full strength, it had completely exceeded the standard of the Legend level. Coupled with the Beast Tamer, it could already be called, titled Legend level. This human can't be left alive. Flame Dragon King Punkham, kill him. Voices also kept coming from the Totem Country. At this moment, although they knew that Blue Planet had external enemies, after witnessing Shi Yu's shocking potential, the various Totem countries instantly felt Shi Yu's threat. This guy, in a level 6 state with a monarch-level undead, had power comparable to an invincible overlord. If he used the World Tree branch liquid to break through to the Legend level and his pet also reached the overlord level, how terrifying would that be? Could it threaten a real totem level? At that moment, no matter which totem faction participated in the world competition, they hoped that the Flame Dragon King, Punkham, could end Shi Yu in this battle, even if it meant turning him into a totem undead and eliminating him. They couldn't let this kid continue participating. They couldn't let him break through to level 7. They had to kill him at level 6. Roar! At this moment, seeing that the level 6 Shi Yu had successfully withstood its attack, the Flame Dragon King, Punkham, also felt a huge threat from Shi Yu. He knew that he couldn't let this kid continue participating. Otherwise, after he broke through, he would definitely become its third fatal threat apart from the Thunder Crown Rubber Divine Tree and the Green Dragon Prince. It's my turn, right? Just as the Flame Dragon King, Punkham, was thinking about how to end Shi Yu's life, Shi Yu raised his head slightly. The arms that had turned into phoenix wings recovered, and a fire sword spirit appeared in his hand again. Initially, I didn't want to use this state, but from the looks of it, if I don't use it, it'll be very difficult to defeat you. The price needed in this state will be paid with your life. Shi Yu looked up. His red eyes had already been smeared with an evil purple color. If he wanted to defeat Punkham, Shi Yu had 3 methods. Firstly, he would activate the Taiji domain to assist Kai Tong. Secondly, he would send Baby Ginseng to fight together. Thirdly, he would still fight with Kai Tong, but he needed to erupt with all their battle power. Chapter 924, 924 Kill until no one dares to fight, 8. 924 Kill until no one dares to fight, 8. Just now, the super skills Kai Tong used were all racial skills. Their proficiency didn't exceed perfect level, so even if many skills were combined, they weren't Punkum's match. However, not only did they have racial skills, but they also had super taught skills that had reached perfect proficiency and were specially tailor-made for Kai Tong. Perfect level, Demon Blade Curse, perfect level, Undead Revival. The former could store the curse of the creatures it killed in its body and liberate it when needed. It could enter a cursed state and exchange for stronger battle power with huge side effects. The latter could transform the lives it killed into undead puppets. At the moment, Kai Tong's undead space had 3 Overlord-level puppets. Just now, Shiyu and Kai Tong had already completed an eruption that was close to their limit, but that was only the limit under normal circumstances, the limit Shiyu could withstand. Since there was a limit to what it could withstand, there was naturally a limit that it couldn't withstand. It looked like it couldn't withstand it, but in this extreme explosive state, all the burden could be handed to the undead puppet to withstand through the combination skill of Scapegoat and Undead Revival. In this state, Shiyu was invincible. Even totems needed to be shocked by an attack that used an undead puppet as a sacrifice. However, the problem was that it would cause the undead puppet to collapse and completely die. Therefore, Shiyu basically didn't want to. However, if he used this combination profundity, it wouldn't be a problem to kill new and stronger lives and refine them into the next undead puppet. I hope no one will repeat your mistake next. Shiyu's words were like an echo from the cold hell, echoing in the Fire Dragon King's ears, making it want to sneer and reveal an extremely serious expression. Then, its expression was filled with shock. Before the Fire Dragon King could react to its sense of danger, a strong wave suddenly erupted from Shiyu's body. The red flames on its body all turned into extremely evil purple flames. A monstrous purple flame instantly dyed the sky and ground, shocking everyone. Shiyu? Could it be that he had other trump cards? This is, the World Tree clone, the Boar God, and even the Demigod Legendaries could sense the even more terrifying and evil power that Shiyu erupted with. This evil power even made the hearts of the overlords of the Totem Country who had killed countless people tremble. At this moment, the cyclone around Shiyu immediately surged. The soaring purple flames wrapped around his entire body, burning his red hair and red eyes into purple hair and purple eyes. Mi. In Shiyu's hand, under Kai Tong's sickly and greedy voice, the purple flames that looked like a domain seemed to have burned space. Undead Overlord puppets were summoned by Kai Tong through the revival of the dead. Under the entanglement of the purple evil flames, a green-scaled dragon spirit, an ice-eyed tiger spirit, and a mountain tortoise spirit appeared in the nether flames. Each of them also emitted a powerful Overlord might. Accompanied by them appeared countless remnant souls. They were like malicious ghosts from hell as they floated in the purple flames and let out terrifying whispers as if they were asking for Kai Tong and Shiyu's lives. The incomparably huge curse power made Shiyu's current state look extremely evil. It was so evil that even the Fire Dragon King in the sky had a frightened expression. How many ferocious beasts had this guy killed? Shiyu's expression was indifferent. He wasn't a good person. Kai Tong had relied on the soul of a ferocious beast to grow this spirit body. At this moment, as Shiyu summoned the undead puppets, the contestants of the Heavenly Fox Nation, especially the Fox God leading the team, and the eldest daughter of the Moonlight family who had contracted the Star Moon Fox, looked at the familiar undead puppet in shock. They kept feeling that it was familiar. No, it was even the same. There was something wrong with this Shiyu. Dong Huang had something wrong. It's actually 2 skills that can contain the law of death when trained to the extreme. At the same time, the Boar God quickly discovered that Shiyu's fire sword spirit was simply ridiculous. Not only did it master the sun fire of Extreme Yang, but it also mastered moves like Undead Revival and Demon Blade Curse that could reach the extreme of death. All gazes landed on Shiyu. Among them, the Black Dragon ruler's pupils constricted. It suddenly realized something. Just as it was hesitating if it should attack, it was already too late. Boom! Sun flame that was pure yang appeared on Shiyu's body again. The evil power of the demon blade curse and undead revival condensed on the sword body at the same time as the pure power of the sun flame. Roar! At this moment, the summoned green-scaled dragon spirit, mountain tortoise spirit, and ice-eyed tiger spirit behind Shiyu were instantly burned clean in the purple flames, becoming scapegoats for this attack. Profundity, as Shiyu muttered softly, the huge death aura that shot into the sky intertwined with the sun flame, forming a sword pressure that was like purgatory. It swept with world-shaking might and swallowed the Fire Dragon King. Boom! This attack pierced through the sky. Mere human. At this moment, the Fire Dragon King was still arrogant, but in the next second, its pupils instantly constricted. It sensed a fatal crisis and its entire body trembled to the extreme. As the sword pressure approached, it exclaimed in its heart that it was impossible. It sensed the power of this attack and its entire body continued to tremble. It was very difficult to move. The terrifying deterrence swept by this attack had already completely locked it. Chapter 925, 925 Kill until no one dares to fight, 9. 925 Kill until no one dares to fight, 9. It felt like an isolated and helpless only son on a surfing board, facing a tsunami-like attack. Roar! Under the monstrous sword pressure, the Fire Dragon King, Punkham, let out a frightened roar. After sensing the fatal crisis, its overlord will was instantly activated, activating its incomparable potential. The huge black dragon god phantom condensed on Punkham's huge claws, instantly shattering the restraints of deterrence. At the same time, it smashed towards the sword pressure domain that had already been forced in front of it in anger. Boom! In an instant, the profundities slashed out by Shiyu and Kai Tong squeezed together with the dragon god claw again. The shocking collision sound shattered space and was transmitted to the ears of every alternate space's demigod. Then, in an instant, under the unacceptable gaze of the Fire Dragon King, its body instantly relived Shiyu's previous situation in everyone's incredulous gazes. It was completely swallowed. Boom! Right on the heels of that, the sword pressure continued to push forward until the sky split into two. The red sky that appeared when the boar god descended just now instantly shattered, directly turning into a purple phenomenon with orange-red flames. Compared to the nether ghost flame, the power brought by the demon blade curse could clearly produce an even more terrifying eruption with the sun flame. Lord Fire Dragon King. At this moment, it was the members of the Dragon Empire's turn to look at the sky in shock, including the overlords like the Thunder Dragon General who had participated in the preliminaries. They looked at the sky in disbelief and couldn't accept it. With them were the overlords and beast tamers of many other totem countries. At this moment, almost all the contestants and spectators on the island looked at the changing weather in shock. The dust dissipated. In the grey clouds, the figure of the Fire Dragon King could be seen. At this moment, no matter which faction it was, their gazes were extremely stunned. This was because the Fire Dragon King in the sky, not to mention the armor formed by the beast tamer, even its dragon scales and body had completely disappeared. Under this attack, only half of the broken dragon bones were left. They were still being ravaged by the terrifying energy tide. At this moment, the Dark Elven King of the Dark Night Forest, the fallen angel of the Demon Nation, the divine tree of the Origin Land, the Green Dragon Prince of the Dragonman Empire, and the other contestants looked at the sky in shock. Flame Dragon King. That insufferably arrogant Flame Dragon King of the Dragon Empire. Died? Not even a complete body was left behind. President Lin. Dong Huang, Yi Xing, Divine Bell, Zheng Hai, Jiang Tianyang, Zhu Ming, and the others looked at the sky in shock. They looked at the purple-haired Shiyu and turned to look at President Lin. What happened? Shiyu. Using a monarch-level solo pet to kill the heir of a demigod faction, an invincible overlord. With his strength, did he still need protection? At this moment, President Lin also looked at this scene in shock. If Shiyu fought the Flame Dragon King with the Chaos Panda and even the Green Dragon, he wouldn't be shocked. However, President Lin never expected that Shi Yu could display such a terrifying battle power with Mu Huayan's heroic spirit alone. Tyrannical Sea Legend and the Gem Cat were shocked. Holy shit, why was Shi Yu's strength so exaggerated? Wasn't his trump card that panda? At that moment, even the demigods and legendaries watching the battle in the alternate space revealed shocked expressions as they watched everything. Among them, the space where the Black Dragon ruler of the Dragon Empire was instantly shattered. The soaring anger made its pupils instantly turn red. Dragon Palace City's Dragon God, what are you intending to do? Its furious roar resounded through Inatella. Its terrifying anger instantly made the entire island tremble. At this moment, many demigods knew that the trump card contestant of the Dragon Empire had been killed. This Black Dragon ruler was probably already furious to the extreme. You forgot the rules. After the Dragon God intercepted the Black Dragon ruler who wanted to save the Fire Dragon King, she knew that there was no need for her to attack at all. In an instant, the World Tree clone and the Boar God looked at the furious Black Dragon ruler. Even the world competition between the 7 countries allowed life and death, let alone between the 7 countries and the totem countries. Although there were external enemies, the grudges of the various parties couldn't be resolved in a short period of time. It was impossible to hold back in such a battle. Roar! As many demigod-level and legendary-level gazes landed on him, the Black Dragon ruler of the Dragon Empire suppressed its anger to the extreme. However, at this moment, no one had the time to care about the Black Dragon ruler's mood. On the arena, an even more shocking scene occurred. In midair, a huge dragon spirit began to materialize out of thin air. It had fire-like armor, impressive and domineering flaming wings, a thick dragon tail, and shocking dragon eyes. If it wasn't the Flame Dragon King that Shi Yu and Kai Tong had just killed with a sword, who was it? However, its current form was very strange. It no longer looked like a normal life form, but like an undead. Although the power was still terrifying. Roar! After the huge Fire Dragon King spirit was killed by Kai Tong and materialized through undead revival, it slowly landed on the ground and submitted to Shi Yu and Kai Tong. Bang! 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 The purple-haired Shi Yu ascended the huge undead dragon body step by step and stood on it. He looked at the overlords of the totem countries with shocked and afraid gazes. I've said it before. I want this living fire. Swords have no eyes. I can't guarantee that the challenger can end the battle alive. Next, no one should want to fight with me, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Shi Yu returned to his black hair and eyes like a supreme demon king. The sword spirit in his hand turned into a little red sparrow and flew in the sky. He observed the new puppet in satisfaction. Then, it landed on Shi Yu's shoulder and stared at the various overlords with it. The deterrence brought by the man and spirit to countless totem countries was incomparably powerful. If anyone else came, Shi Yu and Kai Tong didn't mind changing more undead puppets until no one dared to fight. At this moment, be it the 7 countries or the totem country, the contestants looked at this level 6 beast tamer in confusion. The Fire Dragon King had actually revived. Moreover, it had become the other party's puppet. Was this really a human beast tamer from the 7 countries? What a terrifying unorthodox method. Their perception of strength was almost shattered. Was this world broken? This was King level 6 beast tamer? He even threatened the entire totem countries. So it wasn't Yixing Shi Yu, who had eaten the undying fruit and strengthened his soul power and used the undead possession to display the strongest soul power, was Dong Huang's strongest trump card. Chapter 926, 926 Gaze of the Abyss. 926 Gaze of the Abyss. As the battle between Shi Yu and the Fire Dragon King, Punkham, ended, the entire Inatella fell silent. The fire element overlords who had previously clamored to teach Shi Yu a lesson all had extremely weak legs. Who would have thought that Shi Yu, a level 6 beast tamer, could actually kill invincible overlords like dogs? Which one dared to say that it was invincible? The lava beast, which had just wanted to compete with the Fire Dragon King, immediately had the thought of giving up the competition and took a step back in shock. Just as Shi Yu had said, if it went up, it would die. Although the life fire was good, it had to be alive to use it. Dong Huang actually hid such a trump card. At this moment, the presidents of the associations of the various countries of the alliance and the contestants of the world tournament looked in Dong Huang's direction with shocked gazes. The number one person below the legend level? Who were they kidding? Shi Yu, who had consumed the mythical resource, the undying fruit, and this extremely strange possession sword spirit. Without a doubt, it was Dong Huang's hidden trump card. So this sword spirit is his trump card. The courtyard sprite Annie, who had been defeated by Shi Yu's iron-eating beast, and the Knight of Glory Lucille, who had been defeated by Ling, had complicated expressions. Initially, they thought that iron-eating beast and that mechanical phantom beast were. In the end, who would have thought that Shi Yu's possession strategy was so powerful? This. At this moment, on Dong Huang's side, Zhu Ming, one of the legendary contestants, had a trembling expression. Holy shit, previously, he actually wanted to challenge Shi Yu to compete with him for the sequence ranking. This guy rejected him. Could it be that it wasn't because he was afraid that he couldn't defeat him? It's all right. Lu Qingyi heaved a sigh of relief. She knew that Shi Yu was fine, but the corners of her mouth twitched. When Shi Yu named Kai Tong, she was still beside him. Why did she? Ha ha ha, at this moment, the boar god kept laughing. It looked around with a burning gaze at Shi Yu and the fire bird spirit on his shoulder. Unbelievable. The world tree was right. Humans were indeed very worth nurturing. Even if it was a mythical race at the monarch level, it was only SOSO compared to Shi Yu and the other state just now. Although the Fire Dragon King was strong, the combination of this human and the Fire Sword Spirit was clearly stronger. If they maintained this posture and grew to the mythical stage, the boar god could imagine what kind of enemy those invaders would have. Killing the enemy. Reviving the dead as puppets. Sacrificing puppets to erupt and kill the enemy. Reviving the dead. This was completely top-notch battle nurturing methods. It was simply born to kill. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge? The boar god looked around. The fire element overlord that had just been restless fell silent. On the arena, the Flame Dragon King was the precedent. Shi Yu and Kai Tong's figures indeed made people unable to have any conflicting emotions. Lord Ice Dragon King, in the direction of Dragon Palace City, the Sea Dragon King suddenly discovered that ice shards were falling from the Ice Dragon King's eyes beside it, as if it was crying, but because of its attributes, it didn't look like it. It's nothing. I just thought of Mu Huiyin, the Frost Dragon was undoubtedly very shocked just now. It originally thought that Shi Yu would become famous because of the Chaos Panda in the World Tournament, but it didn't expect to see Shi Yu cooperate with its master's heroic spirit and kill until no one from the totem countries dared to fight. At that moment, it recalled the time it fought with Mu Huiyin. At that time, its strength was even inferior to this Fire Dragon King. However, at that time, when the overlord of the totem country faced them, it was the same. As time passed, its master was no longer beside it, but in another form, it still shocked countless overlords. Lord Boar God, do you want to continue waiting until sunset? At this moment, on the Fire Dragon King's body, Shi Yu and Kai Tong looked at the god from the mythical era. No one, the Boar God originally thought that the battle for the living fire would last for a long time. It never expected that a monster that the various factions didn't dare to fight would actually appear in the first battle. This huge pig couldn't help but feel a little helpless. Wait a little longer. If no one challenges anymore, let's end it, the World Tree clone said. It was also happy to see Shi Yu receive a gift from the Boar God. If it wasn't wrong, that undead was a hybrid of a human and a phoenix. At the moment, it was not in a complete state at all. It was transmigrated into an undead. The life fire should be able to completely stimulate its bloodline power and make it stronger. This inheritance was a very good choice for Shi Yu. Just like that. Time passed bit by bit. No fire element overlord dared to fight Shi Yu at all. Seeing this, the boar god laughed under the shocked gazes of many lives and pulled out that spirit-ascending blade condensed from the life fire. In that case, this ball of living fire is yours. Human, report your names. In the boar god's hand, the life fire gradually shrank and condensed, turning into a fist-sized flame that flew towards Shiyu. Shiyu was extremely excited. The mythical trial was much easier than he imagined. Moreover, the gains were ridiculous. In a trial, not only did he obtain mythical resources, but he also directly killed a world competition champion candidate. Boom! Shiyu used his psychic power to catch the life fire. A ball of white flames floated in his palm. Beast tamer of Dong Huang, Shiyu. At the same time, he looked at the boar god. Chapter 927, 927 Gaze of the Abyss, 2. 927 Gaze of the Abyss, 2. Sword name, Kai Tong. It's the heroic spirit of General Mu Huiyin of the Dong Huang dynasty. Not bad, I'm looking forward to your next performance. The boar god laughed. Damn it! As they officially confirmed that Shiyu had obtained the reward for the first mythical trial, the various totem factions were extremely envious. However, there was nothing he could do. At this moment, the various legendaries and demigods had different moods. Under their silent gazes, the World Tree clone flew in the sky and said, "When the sun rises tomorrow, I'll awaken a second god and open the second trial." The second trial! As the World Tree clone finished speaking, everyone tried their best to stop thinking about the first trial and pay attention to the second mythical trial mentioned by the World Tree clone. They hoped that they could get a share of the benefits in this trial and that it would not be as rough as a single test battle power. This god's name is Xianming. That guy. As soon as the World Tree clone finished speaking, the boar god's expression turned cold. Then, it looked at the World Tree clone and said, "I suddenly feel that it's quite interesting now. I plan to stay a little longer before sleeping." At the moment, due to sleeping for too long and the suppression of the world's will, the boar god's strength was less than 100%. The best way to recover was to continue sleeping and wait for the mythical revival. However, it was rare for it to be awakened in advance at a huge price by the World Tree. If it wanted to continue paying attention to the human beast tamers cultivated by the World Tree, so be it. All right. The World Tree clone didn't refuse the boar god's request. It was normal for these gods of the mythical era to be very curious about the situation in the future. Not to mention them, even the World Tree itself was very curious. Every time it slept, a long, long time passed. Every time it woke up, humans could develop a new civilization, surprising it. The most recent thing that shocked the World Tree was still the few humans named Zed and Divine Source who developed the mechanic class. It hoped that humans could also bring it more surprises this time. Xianming is. The name of Xianming immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Even Shiyu, who had just obtained a mythical inheritance, glanced sideways. Unfortunately, be it the World Tree clone or the boar god, they didn't say much. After completing the first trial, one of them turned into countless green lights again and disappeared from the sky, while the other returned to the mythical ruins to rest temporarily. Only everyone was left thinking about who Xianming was. In an instant, Inatella returned to calm and berserk. Countless people suddenly looked at Shiyu on the arena, and their gazes changed again. However, at this moment, Shiyu was still relatively calm. Although he had already sensed countless killing intent, he had already expected this situation before participating in the world competition. It didn't matter. As long as he endured until the end of the world competition, he felt that his strength could definitely increase to a higher level and he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. After the first mythical trial ended, Shiyu was immediately protected layer by Dong Huang and Dragon Palace City. Killing the Fire Dragon King could be said to have directly placed Shiyu on the Dragon Empire's blacklist. Regarding Shiyu's decisiveness, Divine Source Legendary and the Dragon God were still all right. They felt that Shiyu had done well. After all, the Western sect had been involved in the few Eastern Totem battles after the Dragon Emperor. The Dragon Empire was even the main force of the invasion. He had killed well. On the other hand, President Lin was a little helpless. After all, he was still the one governing Donghuang next. He could already predict that after this world competition, Donghuang would have more conflicts. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint. Shi Yu smiled when he saw the gem cat, President Lin, and the others quickly escort him away. Good kid. President Lin was still excited. He didn't expect Shi Yu and Kai Tong's combination to be so strong. Back then, when Shi Yu said that Kai Tong had the ability to defeat a top-notch overlord alone, he originally didn't care much. Before the power of the Chaos Panda, he completely ignored it. In the end, Shi Yu gave him a surprise. He didn't expect Kai Tong, who had been possessed by a beast tamer, to be so strong. How strong was Shi Yu? Was he Donghuang's trump card? As Shi Yu defeated the Fire Dragon King, this topic immediately spread crazily among the various factions in Inatella. At this moment, no one dared to underestimate this level 6 beast tamer anymore. Those quasi-totem level and totem level world competition champion candidates were all extremely serious, thinking that Shi Yu was a huge threat. Without a doubt, the current Shi Yu's strength had directly entered the strongest tier of the world competition contestants. However, Shi Yu was not arrogant. Before the mythical trial began tomorrow, he informed President Lin and the others before immediately burrowing back into the ruins to prepare for battle. Firstly, he wanted to quickly recover the consumption of this battle, and secondly, he wanted to see if he could suddenly strengthen it again. Although Shi Yu felt that in a full-strength battle, he could kill indiscriminately like a baby cup in the world tournament, the targeting of the mythical trial was too strong. In fact, if he wanted to obtain resources, he might have to fight mythical creatures. He had to constantly improve himself. He had just obtained the legendary resource, the Heart Flame, the Spirit World Fragment, the mythical resource, the World Tree Fruit, and the Flame of Life. Shi Yu could be said to have had a huge harvest. 3 of them were Kai Tong's. Unfortunately, Kai Tong was not suitable to use them at the moment. Apart from that, its Sun Flame Flower and Bone Sword had yet to be completely used. Although it was the most luxurious pet in the team, it was helpless. At this moment, Kai Tong could only watch eagerly. It was extremely pitiful. After all, even the legendary resources couldn't be absorbed with all its might, since it was afraid that it couldn't suppress its power and break through. Chapter 928, 928 Gaze of the Abyss, 3. 928 Gaze of the Abyss, 3. Wu. G tilde Ning. 11, Buggy, Baby Ginseng, and the others also looked at Kai Tong's resources eagerly. Was this the troubles of rich people? Legendary level resources were all right, but mythical level resources. This was the first time. As expected, the later one evolved, the better the benefits. 11, Baby Ginseng, and the others gradually believed the rules concluded by Buggy. Don't worry, when I break through to the legendary level, you can use them all. Apart from being a breakthrough resource, these might also be used as evolution resources. I found a suitable evolution method, Shi Yu said to Kai Tong with a smile, immediately making Kai Tong's eyes light up. When Shi Yu finished speaking, Ling nodded and said, according to the information, the fallen angel of the demon nation, Aldrich, has mastered a special evolution skill. It's because it has this evolution skill that it's known as one of the creatures closest to a mythical race. Its 2 souls in one body are also because of this skill. If we have the chance to fight it, we can think of a way to get it, Shi Yu said. Name Soul Incarnation. Attributes, Undead, Spirit. Level, Super. Introduction: it can condense into an extremely long power incarnation. The incarnation can exist alone or fuse with the main body to complete evolution. Kai Tong was stunned. Ling, this move is very suitable for you, as someone who has mastered the profundity of the myriad sword convergence. Your clone's various abilities are only one of the many abilities of the main body. Even through the infinite superposition of possession, the efficiency of energy is still not high. Moreover, the strengthening mode is single, and the burden is huge. But incarnations are different. When incarnations condense, they can exist forever like scapegoats. unless they die, where they need to condense again. In addition, every incarnation has an extremely high growth rate. They can walk a different path from their main body. For example, if you're proficient in the undead and fire elements, your incarnations can completely be proficient in the spiritual and light elements. Although their attributes are different, they have the same potential talent as the main body. The fallen angel of the demon nation, Aldrich, has mastered 3 incarnations, and every one of them is incomparably powerful. The strongest is when the main body and the 3 incarnations fuse into one to complete the evolution. This was an evolution skill that relied on cultivating clones to complete the evolution of origin. After Shiyu obtained the detailed information of the fallen angel Aldrich, the first thing he felt was that this skill was very suitable for Kai Tong. Little Kai Tong, have you heard of the Immortal Slaying Sword formation, and the for Immortal Slaying Swords? Shiyu sat on the sofa and snapped his fingers. At that time, the main body and 3 incarnations whose strength is not inferior to the main body will form a sword formation through skills like the interlocking sword and the 4-symbol star formation and complete the evolution. Believe me, the strength will definitely be strong. After all, it's equivalent to several times the investment of resources. At this moment, Kai Tong indeed had enough resources. Shiyu felt that it didn't seem impossible to nurture an invincible clone sword for Kai Tong. For example, the flame that contained the law of life could create a life spirit sword Kai Tong that was completely different from the power of Kai Tong's undead body. At that time, life and death would intertwine. Shiyu felt that it was very promising. Mimi! Kai Tong's eyes lit up. It was quickly persuaded by Shiyu. With a look of anticipation, it waited to crusade against the fallen angel. Yeah. Baby Ginseng and the others immediately asked when they saw this. Were there any other skills? There were so many powerful creatures in Inatella. In theory, rare skills should be everywhere. Yes, I'll record everything, Shiyu said with a smile. Then, he chatted with Kai Tong, 11, and the others for a while and exchanged the rare skills on this batch of contestants. If he broke through to the legend level, he could quickly replicate some of it. Even if he couldn't completely replicate it, it didn't matter. Shiyu remembered their identities. If necessary, he might still need to protect them and not let them die too early. At most, he would visit the totem country when his skill column was rich in the future. As long as they didn't die, there were plenty of opportunities. With endless imagination, Shiyu finally picked up the world tree fruit and decided to eat it himself. Giving it to pets was just to increase skill proficiency. Shiyu felt that there were many ways to increase proficiency with the skill index in the future. There was no hurry. As long as he was given a certain amount of time, the skill level could increase. However, if he wanted to develop the beast-taming talent well, he really had to rely on comprehension. It wasn't something that could be developed with time. If telepathy could be further developed, the cost-effective ratio would undoubtedly be higher. After all, Shiyu had no other ways to increase it. This was one of the few opportunities. Shiyu ate the green world tree fruit. Soon, he sat cross-legged and entered a meditative state. The incomparably clear feeling was like him memorizing words after consuming the memory water drop. The former's memory ability had been raised to the maximum, and now, his comprehension had been raised to the maximum. One was suitable for liberal arts, and the other was suitable for science. Taking advantage of the mythical resources to strengthen his comprehension ability, Shiyu immediately tried to unearth more mysterious laws of the Taiji domain and Green Dragon domain. However, soon, to Shiyu's surprise and shock, apart from the 2 domain diagrams that originally existed in his pitch-black mental world, a 3rd domain diagram slowly appeared. Chapter 929, 929 Gaze of the Abyss, 4. 929 Gaze of the Abyss, 4. He saw a blue planet. Shiyu originally thought that this planet was Blue Planet, but as he observed carefully, he felt that it was more like Earth than Blue Planet. At this moment, a green sapling slowly grew on the huge Earth with a dark background. World Tree! These 3 words instantly turned into an unbelievable thought that echoed in Shiyu's heart. World Tree Domain. He actually had a 3rd mental domain phenomenon. The first was the Taiji painting, the second was the Green Dragon painting, and the third actually appeared as he ate the World Tree fruit. Shiyu was extremely happy. It doesn't seem to be over. Then, Shiyu's heart skipped a beat. Not only that, but the effect of the mythical resource had yet to be completely displayed. At this moment, Shiyu could clearly feel that he could see more laws and power of faith contained in the Taiji painting and the Green Dragon painting. Especially the Taiji painting. Back then, when Shiyu mobilized the Taiji painting, it also produced a sound of laws that was comparable to a quasi-divine skill. However, Shiyu understood that although they were both quasi-divine skills, the distance from a real divine skill was completely different. If it was said that the quasi-divine skill of a demigod lifeform still needed 50 steps to touch the laws of a real divine skill, then today, that Boar God skill that had fallen from a divine skill to a quasi-divine skill because the laws of the world were incomplete was only 10 steps away from touching the laws. As for Shiyu and 11, the difference was clearly even greater. It was at least 100 steps away. They had yet to see much of the Yin-Yang Millstone. However, at this moment, Shiyu could clearly feel that his use of the Taiji painting was even clearer. This feeling was like the difference between the strengthening talent of a legend beast tamer and the strengthening talent of a legendary beast tamer. Previously, his mind domain was equivalent to a legendary beast tamer with strengthening talent strengthening 11's Yin-Yang Millstone. And now, Shiyu was certain that his strengthening of 11's quasi-divine skill could clearly be stronger, several times stronger than before. Don't stop. Shiyu's heart was fanatical as he continued to develop. This strengthening made Shiyu feel that as long as he supported 11 with all his might, 11 could use a quasi-divine skill to slap ordinary totems to death. No, forget about totems. If the demigods suppressed their strength to the overlord level and used their quasi-divine skills to fight 11, who he supported, it was still a question if they could defeat 11. A night of bitter cultivation. The strengthening of comprehension brought about extreme overdraft in various aspects. Shiyu's body was already weak, and tonight, it directly tormented him badly, making Shiyu not know if he should be happy or worried. He came out of the ruins early in the morning today and met President Lin and the others from Dong Huang to wait for news of the second mythical trial, but in the end, it was in this state. The only thing that relieved Shiyu was that although he looked even weaker and had consumed more energy, he had actually become stronger. With the two mythical resources swallowed, in addition to his mind domain, his own foundation could be said to be completely close to those legendary beast tamers. At dawn the next day, countless creatures walked out of their ruins in the 7 countries and the totem countries and looked at the sky of Inatella. As the sun slowly rose, the countless green vortex worms sleeping on the island also flew into the sky again and turned into a green eagle, looking at the world competition contestants on the island. The second mythical trial is about to begin. All contestants of the world tournament prepare to head to the location of the water element arena during the preliminaries. I will awaken the divine level creature Shenming from the mythical era here. The second mythical trial will be set by Shenming the Water element arena. At this point, the factions with many water element creatures in the Infinite Sea, the Ghost Sea, the 7 islands, and even countless water element creatures were delighted. Water? Could it be that this time was a trial that only water element creatures could participate in? At this moment, the Green Eagle continued, Shenming is a water element god. In the mythical era, it was the main force to resist the Abyss Sea, an extraterrestrial faction. At the same time, it was also the first god to take the initiative to come into contact with and master the power of the Abyss Sea without being affected in order to understand the enemy. What? As soon as the World Tree clone finished speaking, the expressions of many people changed. Abyss Sea. There was naturally no faction present who didn't understand this huge inheritance that came from the mythical era. The pollution of the abyss was incomparably terrifying and would completely corrode the will. In history, even the abyss that came later in the future had caused huge damage to Blue Planet. If it weren't for the existence of the Blue Sea Sprite, who knew what the sea on Blue Planet would be like now. This god actually ran over to cultivate the power of the abyss? Was it that crazy? They could already imagine how cruel the trial rules would be set by this crazy god. However, at this moment, a group of people also revealed strange expressions. It was from Dong Huang. The Gem Cat, President Lin, and the others were slightly stunned. A god who took the initiative to come into contact with and master the power of the Abyss Sea and wasn't affected? Why did it sound so familiar? Wasn't this Shiyu's second team, the underling of the Blue Sea Sprite Susu, Ducky? Chapter 930 Some Research. 930 Some Research. The water element arena in the preliminaries was located in a huge lake that connected to the ocean on the island. To be precise, this sea area was the so-called water element arena. There was no ground. Here, transcendent life forms who couldn't fly and weren't good at water couldn't fight at all. Therefore, just hearing about the venue made the various countries understand that this was definitely another extremely restrictive trial. At this moment, as the World Tree clone said the location of the trial, the void was torn apart. The divine boar god in charge of the first trial descended again. It maintained its huge body, and flames condensed behind it that filled the sky, forming a void flame throne. It slowly sat in the sky and looked at the sea area. Under the summoning of the World Tree clone, the god in charge of the second trial was also about to revive. Boom! The humans and transcendent lives of the various countries surrounded the land and looked at the water in front of them. Under the gazes of everyone in all directions, they heard a boom, and an indescribable pressure appeared again. Dong! A baffling voice echoed in their minds and hearts. At this moment, almost no one didn't understand what this voice was. Even spectators like Yu Shu, who weren't even master-level beast tamers, had gained a lot of knowledge in this world competition. The sound of laws. This was a spiritual spirit that could only be emitted when a transcendent life form entered the mythical domain and resonated with the laws of the world. This was the symbol of a god. Be it its potential to enter the god domain or its strength to enter the god domain, this was the only symbol. It said that demigods also master the sound of laws. With this ability, each of them can fight against the legendary beast tamers who control 9 pets alone. The hearts of all creatures rippled. Divine skill, god domain. This was the lifelong pursuit of every life. Although it was very difficult to achieve in this era where the laws were incomplete, there were still 7 years until the mythical stage revived. Everyone had a chance. This deity might even be stronger than the boar god. As the sound of laws rumbled, the demigods who were currently at the top of Blue Planet and were praised by the World Tree as destined to become gods after the mythical revival had already sensed the power of this new god. Whoosh! A figure appeared above the sea area. A black island more than 100 meters in diameter seemed to have appeared there. After it appeared, the entire blue sea area was instantly dyed with a faint layer of black. With a whoosh, the water vibrated. This huge black island raised its head and stretched its limbs, revealing the appearance of a crocodile-looking face. Its fierce face stunned many creatures. This should be a turtle god. You're awake. Lord Xianming. After the huge turtle woke up, the boar god sitting on the flame throne in the sky turned into a World Tree clone flying in the sky and spoke one after another. It feels so depressing. The black alligator turtle looked around. This was the second time it had been awakened by the World Tree clone. As expected, it was still not used to this era with incomplete laws. Just like the boar god, Xianming felt that its strength was severely suppressed. It looked at the surrounding transcendent lives and humans, its black eyes filled with judgment. Future creatures? All of them looked extremely weak. The so-called humans were only SOSO. Just from the willpower revealed in their eyes, Xianming knew that these guys definitely couldn't resist the corrosion of the abyss. However, because of the agreement with the World Tree, it still had to let these people experience the cruelty of the mythical era and give rewards to those who performed well. Have you finished? It looked at the boar god in the sky. At the end of the mythical era, there were not many gods left. The boar god was a divine level that resisted the space worms. Meanwhile, it was the main force that resisted the Abyss Sea. The two were originally unrelated, but because they were both sleeping in Inatella, they knew each other. I'm done. Future creatures are indeed interesting, the boar god said. I see. Xianming looked at the countless future humans around him and said, "You guys should know what kind of disaster the mythical era is facing, right?" At that time, the power of the Abyss evil god that descended on Blue Planet reached the peak of the divine level, polluting more than half of Blue Planet's ocean into an abyss. Even divine-level creatures became slaves of the Abyss race under the influence of the power of the Abyss. However, the Abyss isn't invincible. As long as your willpower is firm enough and you comprehend the profundity of the Abyss power, this powerful power from outer space can even become a weapon in your hand. I completely control the power of the Abyss. As for my test, it's also very simple. I'll pollute this sea area through the power of the Abyss and let it give birth to an Abyss evil spirit. That Abyss evil spirit has a powerful pollution power. Whoever can destroy it can obtain an Abyss seed that I've finished refining. This Abyss seed contains the fusion experience of the divine level Abyss power. As long as your willpower is strong enough, there's a chance to refine it for your own use. Just like me, you can control the power of the Abyss. So which one of you will do it? It revealed a playful smile. At this moment, the various factions were shocked again. As long as they defeated the Abyss evil spirit created by Xianming, they could obtain the opportunity to master the power of the Abyss. The Abyss was one of the 3 invaders who caused the destruction of the Blue Planet's mythical era. Their strength was naturally needless to say. It definitely stood above most divine-level power. Otherwise, it was impossible for Blue Planet to be plunged into misery and suffering. Chapter 931, 931 Some Research, 2. 931 Some Research, 2. Abyssal Power. At this moment, the gaze of the invincible overlord of the endless sea domain, an elemental life form that was purely condensed from water elements and looked like a huge whale, the deep sea emperor whale, turned cold. The invincible overlord of the Ghost Sea, the huge dark blue jellyfish in the form of a spirit body, was also shocked. Just like Dragon Palace City, the Infinite Sea region and the Ghost Sea were both huge factions in the Blue Planet Sea region. At the same time, they were also enemies of the Abyss Sea. Dragon Palace City was alright, but the Infinite Sea region and the Ghost Sea in the west were the first to bear the brunt of the invasion of the Abyss Sea and were corroded by the Abyss Sea. Although the invincible overlords of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea were still young and had never experienced the invasion of the Abyss Sea, the demigods of their factions and the demigods of previous generations had experienced resistance to the Abyss Sea time and time again. Their factions naturally recorded the horror of the Abyss Sea. It could be said that without the help of the Blue Sea Sprite, the Endless Sea area and the Ghost Sea would have long been destroyed by the invasion of the Abyss Sea. As for the Abyss Sea of the Totem era, it was only an inheritance left behind by the Abyss Sea of the Mythical era. The Abyss Sea of the Totem era was already so powerful, so how powerful was the power of the divine-level Abyss? In an instant, the invincible overlords of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea were extremely tempted. Not only them, but the Inatella's Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea demigod behind them were also extremely moved. If they could obtain the inheritance of Xianming and the power of the divine-level Abyss. Even if the Abyss Sea of the mythical era invaded again, their faction should be able to calmly resist, right? This inheritance had to be taken down. Similarly shocked were the Dark Elven Empress and the Dark Elven Prince of the Land faction, the Dark Knight Forest. Abyssal Power. According to the Elven Empress of Tingxiang, the Mother Life Tree had also been polluted by the Abyss and turned into the Dark Mother Tree. Including the Dark Elves, they were all affected because of this. However, the Dark Elves were not permanently under the control of the Dark Mother Tree in the end. In the end, they successfully destroyed the Dark Mother Tree and became independent. Thinking about it carefully, if the Dark Elves were still under the influence of the Abyss bloodline, they probably wouldn't have received the invitation of the World Tree. Then, did the Dark Elves already master the power of the Abyss? Was it possible to directly obtain the favor of the mysterious underworld? Just now, Xianming didn't seem to have mentioned any restrictions. It didn't seem like creatures with no attributes could participate in the trial. It only said that it was enough to destroy the Abyss evil spirit. Lord Xianming, there are no restrictions on participating in the Abyss trial? At this moment, the invincible overlord of the Dark Knight Forest, the Dark Elven Prince, couldn't help but ask. The Dark Elven King asked the question everyone wanted to ask. Oh? At this moment, Xian Ming's gaze landed on the Dark Elven Prince. After sensing the extremely weak dark power of the Abyss from the Dark Elven Prince, it said, "Little brat, you also have traces of the Abyss on your body. However, compared to the pure power of the Abyss, it's too weak, 100 times weaker. Its power has long been diluted. As for the conditions to participate, there are no restrictions. Anyone who wants to participate can give it a try." The Dark Elven Prince was overjoyed. First, its great enemy, the Fire Dragon King, died. Then, it was tailor-made for the second mythical trial. It was simply going to go to heaven. However, in the next moment, Xian Ming's words made the Dark Elven Prince feel like he had fallen into an ice cave. Of course, the trial isn't that simple. Although the abyssal evil spirit I condensed is only the weakest prototype, it's also the shadow of the power of that evil god. Not everyone can destroy it. Even I avoid looking at that evil god directly. Only supreme gods like the ancestral dragon can resist it. Although there are weak abyss traces on your body, you would die if you tried. You might fall slower. That human beside you will definitely die faster than you. Beside the Dark Elven Prince was a contractor. It was a mixed blood-made beast tamer, specially born for the Dark Elven Prince. At this moment, her expression changed like the Dark Elven Prince. It's not the same thing as the power of the Abyss, you understand. Don't blame me for not reminding you. If you can't successfully resist the abyssal evil spirit and are instead polluted by the power of the Abyss, even I can't restore you to your original state. Your will completely die and become slaves of the Abyss. This is a trial that involves one's life. It's also a trial that one has to face before controlling the power of the Abyss. If one can't even pass this most basic trial, then forget about mastering the power of the Abyss. Xian Ming's deep voice echoed in the hearts of all living beings. At the same time, a huge and darker black shadow appeared under the polluted Black Sea. At this moment, the Black Sea area rolled. The Abyss evil spirit Xian Ming mentioned was about to be born. At this moment, the Dark Elven Prince's heart trembled and beat crazily. He didn't expect that Xian Ming would bluntly determine that it would directly lose its life after participating in the Abyss trial. The expressions of the other creatures also changed drastically as they looked straight at the terrifying creature under the Abyss Sea. Its figure was slowly outlined like a monster. It vaguely had the outline of a person, but it had a head with many tentacles like an octopus. Its body was covered in scales, and it had huge claws. There was also a pair of long and narrow wings behind it. Its image had some characteristics of octopuses, bats, and humans. Chapter 932, 932 Some Research, 3. 932 Some Research, 3. Splash! It appeared from the Abyss Sea, dragging its bloated and fat body phantom. Its huge green body staggered out of the dark sea and walked into people's vision. Its body emitted indescribable fear waves. This was the Abyss evil god phantom that Xian Ming mentioned, the ultimate core of the abyssal power. Its appearance shocked everyone even more than the appearance of the mysterious underworld. No, or rather, it was the embodiment of the abyssal power controlled by the mysterious underworld. At this moment, when they saw this abyssal evil spirit, everyone seemed to have fallen into a deep nightmare. It was all right for the weak, but the stronger the person, the more they could sense the essence of the power of the Abyss, and the more serious the impact, even if it was just a look. Ah! In an instant, a beast tamer who had contracted an overlord above his level screamed. The expression of the beast tamer with weak willpower gradually became crazy. He covered his head forcefully, and his eyes were dark green and red. Even their contractors' gazes were filled with fear, and there seemed to be monsters muttering in their brains. Boom! The power of the Abyss was terrifying. For legendary and demigod-level experts, their perception was especially obvious. The Dark Elven Empress looked at this monster called the Abyss evil spirit in shock. Although she sensed that its power fluctuations were only at the overlord level, the pollution contained in it at this moment, even through vision, made her, a demigod, feel threatened. If it were an ordinary overlord, no, even a creature that had just entered the totem level, let alone destroying it, it was still a question if it could maintain its rationality after fighting it. Nicholas! The warning voice of the Dark Elven Empress immediately sounded in the Dark Elven Prince's mind. Don't participate in this trial. Just like what that god said, you'll die. It would die. Die! A huge word appeared in the Dark Elven Prince's heart, making its gaze tremble. Similarly, like the Dark Elven Empress, the demigod overlords of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea instantly experienced the horror of the Abyss evil spirit. This Abyss power was definitely not something the so-called invincible overlord could touch. Unless it had a will that exceeded the overlord's will or an extreme cleansing power, it was definitely unable to resist the corrosion of the Abyss power. Don't participate in this trial. In an instant, the contestants of the Dark Night Forest, the Infinite Sea, the Ghost Sea, and many other demigod factions received a warning from their demigod overlords. Even if it was the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree that had reached the totem level, the Green Dragon Prince was the same. Your power doesn't match the power of the Abyss. It's fine not to participate in this extremely risky trial. The voice of the Genesis Tree God echoed in the heart of the Thundercrown Rubber Divine Tree. It couldn't lose its life because of this trial. This Shenming didn't want anyone to obtain the inheritance at all. Give up, the tyrant Dragon King of the Dragonman Empire also said to its son. The power of the Abyss was more compatible with water element life forms. Although their race also mastered the power of water, they weren't pure water element life forms after all. Even if they obtained it, they might not necessarily be able to master it perfectly. It wasn't worth risking their lives to obtain it. At this moment, no matter who it was, they were stunned by the terrifying statue of the Abyss evil spirit. They even gave up on the idea of participating in the trial after taking a look. A huge fear was born in the hearts of every creature. Is this the power of the Abyss Sea? The gods of the mythical era fought against this kind of thing. This is only the shadow of its power? How terrifying will the main body be? An overlord-level snake-haired sea demon took a step back with a shocked expression. Just looking at it made him feel that he was about to go crazy. He really couldn't imagine the consequences of fighting that thing. Don't participate in this trial. On the 7 countries side, the legendaries of the various countries also gave orders to the young talents in the country. At this moment, indescribable emotions lingered in everyone's hearts. Seeing this, in the sky, the Borg God and the World Tree were expressionless. Shenming was also extremely calm. It seemed to have expected this outcome. That guy is really not sincere. The Borg God muttered. No, or rather, it was very sincere. After all, the Abyss Seed was considered a supreme inheritance, even more precious than its spirit ascending saber. However, the premise was that a creature had to be alive to get it. Its trial required the candidates to compete among themselves to determine the strongest. Although it was also very harsh, there would definitely be an inheritor. This guy, on the other hand, directly didn't want any modern creatures to take the inheritance if it summoned a terrifying guy like the Abyss Evil God Phantom. However, the goal of the World Tree should have been achieved. It should have already made the humans of the future understand the horror of the Abyss. Unfortunately, Shenming was still kind-hearted. It should make the few of them pay with their lives to be more convincing. All right, come on. The creatures of the future. Shenming's voice kept echoing. However, at this moment, no one dared to move at all. Just looking at this abyssal evil spirit gave countless totems and overlords a pressure comparable to a demigod level. In addition, Shenming directly said that contestants at the level of the Dark Elven Prince would die. At this moment, no one was willing to bet their lives to compete for opportunities. It wasn't that they couldn't bet their lives, but the premise was that they had to see hope of obtaining opportunities. Chapter 933, 933 Some Research, 4. 933 Some Research, 4. Now, there wasn't even hope. The demigods had even issued a warning. No one would be so stupid as to rush up and die. After all, those who could come here were all geniuses. Moreover, even if a transcendent life form could barely withstand it, contractors, humans, and weak humans definitely couldn't withstand the pollution of the abyss. It would die. This was also the reason why the demigods and legendaries didn't let their contestants participate. It was definitely not just pets that were being watched by the abyss. However, the trial still had to continue. However, if no one could stand out, this battle could only end here. Looks like I have to accept the abyss seed too. Boom! No one replied. This pressure made the scene very silent. However, at this moment of silence, a figure wrapped in psychic power slowly rose into the sky. After Shiyu rose into the sky with the help of his psychic power, he looked at the abyss evil spirit, making many contestants open their mouths wide and look up at him in disbelief. Shiyu? That archaeologist, Shiyu. At the moment, the greatest winner of the mythical trial. What did he just say? Everyone present never expected that Shiyu, who had just obtained the life fire and leaped into the championship candidate of the world tournament, would actually stand up again. He looked at the abyss evil spirit calmly, as if he was not affected by the abyss evil spirit. Shiyu? Seeing Shiyu suddenly walk out, Yi Xing, Divine Bell, Zheng Hai, and the others widened their eyes and spoke in confusion. Wait a minute, didn't Shiyu hear the mechanical legend and President Lin's warning just now? No. Why did he still go out? Didn't he know what kind of monster the other party was? Shiyu, indeed, didn't receive a reminder from the mechanical legendary. President Lin didn't remind him either. This was because the mechanical legendary, President Lin, and the others knew that Shiyu had contracted the blue sea sprite that had destroyed the abyss sea countless times. The second team even had an abyss half-god who had mastered the power of the abyss sea as a pet. If there was anyone present who could complete this trial, it would be Shiyu. How dare he? Could it be that he thinks that he, in that state, can destroy this abyss evil spirit? After being reminded by the demigods, the invincible overlord contestants looked at Shiyu in disbelief. At this moment, the gazes of the World Tree clone and the Boar god suddenly landed on Shiyu. What was this kid trying to do? Do you want to give it a try? At that moment, Shenming was extremely surprised. Behind the abyss evil spirit, its gaze passed through the abyss evil spirit and looked at Shiyu. He didn't expect that someone would actually have the courage to challenge the abyss evil spirit after seeing it. You should have heard what I just said, right? The outcome of failure in the trial is only death. It repeated. Yes. Shiyu nodded and flew towards the sea. Right on the heels of that, it stopped in the sky opposite the abyss evil spirit. Seeing that Shiyu was different from most humans and could actually look directly at the abyss evil spirit without his mind, heart, and will being affected, Shenming was shocked again. This human might be a little different. Speaking of which, I also have some research on the abyss sea. Perhaps I can give it a try, Shiyu said. After observing the abyss evil spirit for a moment, Shiyu stood out. This abyss evil spirit should only have the strength of an overlord. However, the pressure it brought should be comparable to an overlord-level ginseng baby self-destructing. No, it was even stronger than that. It could resist self-destruction with any power, but only the cleansing power could resist this abyss power. This was also the reason why many factions were afraid. However, Shiyu felt that it shouldn't be a problem for Susu to deal with it. After all, its cleansing power countered the power of the abyss. Moreover, the sea cleansing spirit skill had also accumulated an incomparably huge power through the Blue Sea contract. The cleansing power far exceeded the overlord level and had already reached the totem level. He could give it a try. It was just that, even if Susu obtained this thing, it shouldn't want it. Disgusted. If Susu didn't want it, it might be able to give it to Ducky. After all, it was more compatible with the power of the abyss. Unfortunately, Ducky's strength was not high enough and it had not reached the overlord level. Moreover, it had not signed a contract with him. Otherwise, Shiyu felt that be it Susu or Ducky, they should be able to pass this trial. If it was given to Ducky. Shiyu sighed. Good heavens, there was still a batch of pets in the first team that had yet to find the mythical path. On the other hand, the second team. All of them were about to have mythical potential. Little G's Earth Divine Dragon Fossil, Ducky's Abyss Seed. Alright, it would be troublesome if the first team couldn't defeat the second team in the end. You have some research on the Abyss Sea. Xianming was stunned. Then, he laughed and said, in that case, you can give it a try. It wanted to see what kind of research method Shiyu had on the Abyss Sea. At this moment, all the spectators were stunned by Shiyu's words. They recalled the information about the 3 invasion disasters that Shiyu had explored. Among them, there was indeed the Abyss Sea. Then, Shiyu might indeed have studied the Abyss Sea. However, Divine Source, what are you thinking? The legendaries of the 6 countries opened their eyes again. Shiyu had studied the Abyss Sea. They also knew that Shiyu could show it at the archaeological conference. However, what Shiyu studied should only be at the same level as the Dark Mother Tree. Even the Dark Elven Prince was determined to not die. Was it really alright for Shiyu to go up? Chapter 934 Some Research, 5. 934 Some Research, 5. This guy couldn't be easily defeated with that sword spirit's possession. They could all sense that this abyssal evil spirit was almost an immortal existence. The power of pollution was similar to Law's and was very difficult to destroy. It was almost impossible to completely obliterate and cleanse, even if it relied on totem-level power. Therefore, the only outcome waiting for the challenger might be corrosion. Open your eyes wide. Divine Source Legendary didn't want to say any more. The reason why he didn't remind Shiyu was because Shiyu had contracted the blue sea sprite and was prepared to let Shiyu believe his judgment. And now, Shiyu stood out. Then, did Shiyu think that he could pass this trial? Apart from that, Divine Source knew that even if the blue sea sprite couldn't do it, Shiyu still had a Chaos Panda that had mastered the destructive law. With Shiyu's support, it should be able to obliterate everything, right? Even the power of the Abyss. In short, Shiyu should be fine. If I destroy it, does that mean that this trial will end? As Shiyu finished speaking, Xianming looked at him and said, that's right. In addition, man of the future, your courage is commendable. Before the battle, tell me your name. All right. Shiyu said. Right on the heels of that, a purple summoning array surrounded by blue water appeared below Shiyu on the black water. Yesterday, Shiyu was still at level 6. Today, Shiyu was still at level 6 and had yet to break through. Everyone was no longer that shocked. This time, they were shocked from a different angle. In this trial, Xianming clearly didn't restrict the attributes and number of summons. In other words, Shiyu could clearly send all his pets, but he only sent one. Moreover, this one didn't look like Shiyu's strongest trump card yesterday, the sword spirit named Kai Tong. That's Nink. Under everyone's flabbergasted gazes, a blue water slime that was not even the size of the Abyss evil spirit scales appeared on the Black Sea. From the aura of life. Monarch-level water slime. What the hell is this? What does he want? At this moment, the contestants of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea exclaimed. What Shiyu said about researching the Abyss Sea. In the end, he sent a water slime? Wait a minute, it shouldn't be that simple. Soon, someone realized that the water slime was an elemental life form. The greatest characteristic of elemental life forms was that they could mimic and change forms after mastering elementalization. It might not be as simple as an ordinary water slime. Next, Shiyu and the others indeed proved this. In the face of Xianming's question, Shiyu introduced it like he was facing the boar god. Dong Huang, Beast Tamer of the Ocean Environmental Protection Department of Dragon Palace City, Shiyu. Pet, Blue Sea Sprite. As Shiyu finished speaking, apart from the members of Dragon Palace City who were extremely excited, the others were temporarily at a loss. However, as the blue water slime floating above the Black Sea frowned slightly and revealed an expression of disdain and disgust, and a huge wave suddenly erupted from its body, the expressions of all the confused people changed. Including those demigods. The contestants of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea opened their mouths wide. What did Shiyu just say? They looked at the sea. A strong blue light enveloped the water slime. The cleansing light spread, and countless people's eyes widened. In a short moment, as Susu returned to its original form, a shocking aura wave swept out, and Susu's new figure gradually appeared from the light. The abyss shouldn't exist. Under the cleansing light, Susu's mental fluctuations came. The form of the water slime had already outlined its mermaid-like body under the swirling water. She had beautiful blue long hair, bright blue eyes, beautiful appearance, and a plump upper body. Her lower body was a blue fishtail that kept flowing like a wave. Its entire body was made of water, and its aura was incomparably noble. It had an otherworldly aura. As it changed its form and held the signature weapon of the Blue Sea Sprite, the Blue Sea Sword, which symbolized the ocean and purification, everyone felt an unreachable power again. Holy, pure, clear. Apart from that, the ocean-lived even felt the vibration of the power of all the surrounding oceans. It was as if the master of the sea had returned. This was. As Susu changed, all the spectators revealed incredulous expressions. In the Ocean Totem factions, those factions that had once obtained the favor of the Blue Sea Sprite and even become believers of the Blue Sea Sprite looked at the creature summoned by Shiyu in disbelief. After being stunned, the World Tree clone widened its eyes. It knew it. It knew Shiyu's water slime's fluctuations were so familiar. As for Xianming, as Susu returned to its original form, it also revealed an incredulous expression. It actually sensed the prototype of a supreme law divine skill from it. Through Susu's body, it seemed to see the entire sea behind this water element creature. Who are you? Xianming couldn't help but ask. As the cleansing wave calmed down, the full appearance of the Blue Sea Sprite appeared, as well as the pet name that Shiyu had described clearly. Those from the various factions who knew what this name represented were extremely shocked. As for those who didn't know what the Blue Sea Sprite represented, when they saw the moved gazes of their elders, they were also shocked and didn't understand what had happened. Chapter 935, 935 Some Research, 6. 935 Some Research, 6. In the next moment, the Blue Sea Sprite Susu raised the Blue Sea Sword high. Buzz! As if its soul had left its body, a blue sea cleansing spirit that looked similar to Susu's form was born and wrapped around its entire body. Then, its body kept expanding, erupting with an incomparably huge energy wave. This sea cleansing spirit quickly expanded to 1,000 meters tall. It was majestic and spectacular. The holy cleansing aura on its body was even richer, and the energy fluctuations as deep as the ocean shocked all living beings. The monarch level displayed energy fluctuations that were enough to deter totem level. Blue Sea Sprite, after the mythical era ended, it was the guardian of the sea, the faith of the entire sea. Shiyu completed the answer on behalf of Susu. In the next moment, Susu's sea cleansing spirit stretched out its slender hand and directly swept up an incomparably huge ocean cleansing power. Its palm was like a tsunami that flipped the sky and fell towards the abyss evil spirit. Boom! At this moment, an abyss-like fog spread from the body of the evil spirit that looked incomparably terrifying just now, sweeping up an even more terrifying pollution corrosion power. However, under the illumination of this palm, for some reason, all the creatures looking at the sea felt that this evil god spirit was not that terrifying anymore. In the next moment, a sizzling sound sounded. The mist instantly turned into ice shards and melted into blue water droplets that fell. Its palm passed through the clouds and finally landed on the abyss evil spirit. In an instant, the sea rolled. Everyone saw that under the dazzling cleansing power, the abyssal evil spirit instantly disappeared like weathered sand. At this moment, its palm continued to land. The sea that was originally dyed black by the Xianming actually quickly turned blue under the envelopment of the white light. Impossible! At this moment, Xianming was extremely shocked. Although it didn't activate the power of the abyss with all its might, what right did this monarch-level life form have to crush the power of the abyss that was one level higher than it, so easily? Buzz! The entire black water area was directly cleansed under the baptism of Susu's sea cleansing spirit, which had been accumulated for a long time with the faith skill Blue Sea contract. Holy, pure, clean, and countless auras that were opposite to the power of the abyss spread on the blue sea sprite, shocking everyone. As a beast tamer, Shiyu had seen the world. He was not surprised to see this. In the direction of the Totem Country, the demigods of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea could no longer sit still. They directly tore through the void and looked at the blue sea sprite in shock. This power had already confirmed that what Shiyu had just said was the truth. It was really the blue sea sprite. Lord Blue Sea Sprite, who has been missing for 3,000 years, appeared again? Moreover, it became the pet of a human beast tamer? How is this possible? How can that Lord Blue Sea Sprite acknowledge humans? Not only them, but the demigods of the other factions were also moved, including the World Tree clone. The World Tree had awakened several times and also knew about creatures like the Blue Sea Sprite that were born after the mythical era. After the mythical era ended, although the Abyss Evil God was repelled and the Abyss race was repelled, their power was really difficult to cleanse. An inheritance like the Abyss Sea still had some power left on Blue Planet. It was also because of this that a huge faction that wreaked havoc in the sea in the future was born. Originally, such a faction would have a huge impact on Blue Planet again. However, even the World Tree didn't expect that because of the faith of the entire ocean and the determination to resist the Abyss Sea, a magical life form like the Blue Sea Sprite was born. Even in the mythical era, no water element god could obtain the huge ocean faith like the Blue Sea Sprite at that time. It could be said that in the eyes of the World Tree, the Blue Sea Sprite was born in the wrong era. If it was born in the mythical era, it would be a peak water element mythical, the strongest trump card for Blue Planet to resist the abyssal faction. However, even if it was born in the Totem era, the Blue Sea Sprite was still incomparably powerful, becoming the strongest demigod below it. The Blue Sea Sprite was marked by the World Tree. After the mythical revival, it was a general that had to be roped in, but it was actually contracted by someone. It's the Blue Sea Sprite. Because the entire ocean resisted the Abyss Sea and, their faith condensed into the strongest creature below the myths in the future. After the mythical era ended, the inheritance of the Abyss Sea didn't end, but every time it appeared, it was ultimately destroyed by the Blue Sea Sprite. And in order to protect the sea forever, the Blue Sea Sprite is also constantly reincarnating. I didn't expect it to actually be contracted by humans. The World Tree clone introduced it to Shenming. Just as it said, demigods in the future couldn't become myths not because of talent, but because of the restrictions of the world. Every demigod had outstanding talent, and the Blue Sea Sprite was clearly the best among them. What was wrong with this Shiyu? As soon as the World Tree clone finished speaking, Shenming was shocked. A creature born because of the faith of the entire sea? Such a creature, should it have been born in the mythical era, it would definitely be at the peak of the divine level. Of course, if it was the mythical era, those water element gods probably wouldn't let the Blue Sea Sprite be successfully born. The entire sea definitely wouldn't place all its faith on one life. At that moment, as their elders also finished explaining to him what kind of existence the Blue Sea Sprite was, every contestant of the 7 countries and the Totem Country and the audience also looked at the second mythical trial venue in shock. Such a Blue Sea Sprite was contracted by a human? How was this possible? Was this what Shiyu meant by having some research on the power of the Abyss Sea? The research referred to contracting the strongest demigod who had destroyed the inheritance of the Abyss Sea countless times? That water slime's identity is actually so terrifying. Jiao Xian, White Brook, Yin Zhengfan, Xiao Shuang, and countless Dong Huang spectators who had seen Shiyu send the water slime to participate in the National League had incredulous expressions. Shiyu? This guy? What was he doing? How did he do it? Such a creature, pet? At this moment, everyone was stunned. The contestants of the Totem Country who originally thought that the heroic spirit of a titled expert was Shiyu's strongest trump card were all stunned. They had never seen such a heaven-defying beast tamer. Chapter 936, 936 Indeed Not a Good Person, 1. 936 Indeed Not a Good Person, 1. The strongest ocean demigod. Blue Sea Sprite. Even if it was a reincarnation, No one could understand how such a transcendent life form was related to Shiyu. He actually accepted the inheritance? Legend Sea Tyrant watched in shock. When? This is the strength of the blue sea sprite. Lu Qingyi was silent. A monarch level displaying a totem attack? No wonder Shiyu dared to stand out. Master, Lu Qingyi, you all know? Jing Hai and the others were completely stunned at this moment. Seeing Shiyu display such a ridiculous pet, they were extremely confused. However, from the looks of it, many people knew the identity of that water slime. This is one of Dong Huang's top secrets. Beside him, President Lin said, the identity of the blue sea sprite is very important. Considering that the blue sea sprite had too many enemies, Shiyu didn't have the ability to protect himself at that time, so he didn't publicize it widely. But now, President Lin looked at Shiyu. Shiyu already had the strength to reach the same height as the blue sea sprite. Initially, Divine Source Legendary, President Lin, and the others thought that the blue sea sprite would leave Shiyu after accepting the inheritance, but as long as they maintained a friendship, it wouldn't be a loss. However, who would have thought that the mechanical phantom, the Chaos Panda, the Green Dragon, Shiyu would actually nurture existences with potential that weren't inferior to the blue sea sprite. Perhaps this was also why the blue sea sprite acknowledged and was still willing to follow Shiyu. Divine Source. You guys, the legendaries of the various factions felt even more indescribable. Everyone originally thought that Shiyu was strong because he had eaten the mythical fruit, and his physique was strong because he relied on his strongest physique to fuse with a top-notch undead pet to display extremely strong battle power. This was Shiyu's strongest state. If he sent out his pet alone, Shiyu would at most be at the ordinary legend standard. But no one expected that this guy actually contracted the strongest demigod reincarnation. And was this pet's battle power strong? It must be strong. Countless people looked at the clean sea with shocked gazes. The pressure the abyss evil spirit gave everyone just now was real. Even the god Shenming had said that the phantom had the ability to corrode invincible overlords. However, such a terrifying evil god was directly cleansed by a slap. This was the strongest demigod, the blue sea sprite. With the strength of a monarch, it easily killed an overlord and casually displayed the extreme cleansing power of a totem. At that moment, the contestants and demigods of the Infinite Sea and the Ghost Sea still looked at the scene in silence. The blue sea sprite had an extremely high status in the Endless Sea and the Ghost Sea. Although the faith in the blue sea sprite had dimmed in the past 10,000 years, this was also because the blue sea sprite and the Abyss Sea had not appeared for too long. But history made these two huge factions still remember the kindness of the blue sea sprite. As long as the blue sea sprite appeared again and gave the order, they were still willing to follow the call of the blue sea sprite to crusade the abyss together to prevent this evil faction from reviving. However, the blue sea sprite, which had always been alone, actually contracted a human. For a moment, it made the demigods of the Ghost Sea and the Endless Sea domain feel rather complicated. After a long silence, they finally gave the order to their contestants. All the subsequent trials and battles? You must not conflict with Shiyu of Dong Huang. Perhaps they also had to consider if they should form an alliance with Dong Huang, just like Dragon Palace City. This time, ordering their subordinates not to have a conflict with Shiyu was not because of Shiyu's characteristics, but because of the impact of the blue sea sprite. If the mythical revival and the abyss attacked again, they still had to rely on the strongest demigod, the blue sea sprite. This, the invincible overlords of the demigod factions, such as the Deep Sea Emperor Whale and the Mother of the Nether Ghost, also had complicated feelings. They looked at the two peerless figures above the sea. The blue sea sprite, known as the Blue Sea Saintess, and the beast tamer of Dong Huang, Shiyu, who was wearing a blue trench coat and stood at the end of the sky with blue psychic power, looking at the mythical creature, Shenming. There are actually such terrifying pets in the future, the boar god muttered as it also looked at them. Although it was a mythical creature, it didn't dare to underestimate creatures that could become the strongest in the cultivationless age. If such creatures were placed in the same era, their talent and achievements would definitely be above theirs. If the divine-level creatures of the mythical era could settle everything, the world tree wouldn't have chosen life forms with outstanding talent and potential in the future. It could only be said that these mythical creatures had benefited from the era. Next was the arrival of a new era. Whether it was these old antiques who still stood at the top of Blue Planet, or the geniuses of the new era, the rise of transcendent beings, making the new era without a ship that could carry them, no one knew. Blue Sea Spirit Sprite. As the host of the second trial, Shen Ming looked at the figures of Susu and Shiyu. After a long silence, he said, I acknowledge you. What a blue sea sprite, the strongest demigod in the future. I look forward to you maintaining this advantage and growing into a divine-level domain. However, after the mythical revival and the descent of the abyss, it's not that simple to obtain all the faith of the ocean. Of course, if it can maintain this extreme ocean cleansing power, the cleansing spirit condensed from the power of the ocean faith will definitely become the light that the abyss faction fears the most. You guys passed the trial. The abyss seed is yours. Chapter 937, 937 Indeed not a good person, 2. 937 Indeed not a good person, 2. Come, future Sea Guardian, I'll help you fuse with the abyss seed and comprehend the power of the abyss. You can better cleanse it. It looked at Susu. With your willpower and physique, you can definitely control it easily. At the same time, a black thing that looked like a water drop and a seed floated in front of Shen Ming. At this moment, all the factions were shocked. Although they had yet to recover from their identity as blue sea sprites, in the current situation, was Shiyu about to obtain 2 mythical inheritances. This? Countless people's eyes turned red. It was fine if Shiyu ate the mythical undying fruit and contracted the blue sea sprite, but he actually wanted to obtain divine-level inheritances one after another? How powerful would the blue sea sprite with the strongest cleansing power be if it mastered the terrifying power of the abyss? Why was he the only one taking all the good things? However, just as everyone thought that Shiyu and the blue sea sprite would happily accept the divine-level abyssal power inheritance, to their pain, Shiyu actually slowly spoke and rejected. Sorry, it might not be able to accept the inheritance of the power of the abyss. Ning. On the arena, the blue sea sprite Susu recovered its water slime form under the lingering blue light. It didn't want to learn the power of the abyss. It was dirty, dirty, dirty. Wasn't the power of the Sea of Stars good? Balls of starry sky strange water were much more interesting than the power of the abyss. It would give it to Ducky. In any case, Ducky was no longer clean. Who? Shiyu and Susu's answer stunned Shen Ming, as well as the Boar God and the World Tree, making everyone reveal incomprehensible expressions. Holy shit! Why the F*CK did they come up here if they didn't want the abyss seed? Were they so bored? You don't want the reward. Shen Ming didn't understand, but he was shocked. Then why did he come up? Was it just to let the blue sea sprite slap the abyss evil spirit he created? The World Tree had asked it to let the later generations experience the power of the abyss evil god. Shen Ming only felt that its mission had failed. A huge failure. This blue sea sprite had come out at the wrong time. The abyss was directly countered by blood. No, it's just that it can't accept the power of the abyss. I plan to give it to another pet, Shiyu said. The trial shouldn't have said that the creatures participating in the trial have to fuse with the abyss seed, right? It only said that the reward is the abyss seed. Shen Ming? Silence. Shen Ming was extremely silent. Give it to another pet? The goal of its trial was to test if the pet participating in the trial had the ability to withstand the power of the abyss. If it couldn't pass the test, it couldn't absorb it even if it was given the abyss seed. Was this very difficult to understand? Changing pets? Although I didn't say it, it's true that only creatures who have passed the test are qualified to fuse with the abyss seed. Other creatures aren't qualified. Compared to the blue sea sprite, it's indeed more compatible with the power of the abyss. Unfortunately, its strength isn't enough, and it hasn't contracted with me at the moment. Otherwise, I would have directly sent it out to accept the test, Shiyu said. For the time being, it's considered my second teen's pet. I think you might change your mind after meeting it. Perhaps it would even admire Ducky. Give it more rewards. Team 2 pets. There was no contract. It wasn't even the first team. Shiyu's words immediately made the expressions of the Dark Elven Prince and the other transcendent experts ferocious. A bunch of water element overlords even wanted to abandon their superior status in the totem country and go to Shiyu's second team. There was such a good thing? Are you serious? Xianming's huge eyes locked onto Shiyu. It was unbelievable. Although it was very easy for Shiyu and the others to deal with the abyssal evil spirit, they should also know how terrifying this abyssal power was. It was up to the blue sea sprite to cleanse it easily, but that didn't mean that other creatures were qualified to fuse with the power of the abyss. All right. After a long time. If its aptitude can satisfy me, then you can deal with the abyss seed as you wish. Xianming's gaze was burning. He wanted to see what other pet Shiyu had that was qualified to withstand the power of the abyss. As for Shiyu, he didn't hesitate and directly opened a spatial ripple. This was a door that connected to the ruined space. In the ruins, Ducky held a water blade and fought crazily, stabbing at the Bean Bear Phantom in front of it. In the second team, Chi went into seclusion to digest the legendary resource, the nature fruit. Little G was also about to fuse the Earth Divine Dragon fossil. A huge word danger filled the duck's head. It had no choice but to train its strength quickly. If it became the bottom of the second team, he would definitely be made into a duck in soup. Ducky, your resources are here too. Boom! The duck spear shot out like a dragon. After a water spear penetrated a layer of rust on the bin bear, the duck was directly sent flying by the bin bear. But at the same time, its expression was shocked. Quack! Resources? Buzz! The duck was directly summoned by Shiyu to the outside world. Then, this transcendent race commander rank duckbill beast was instantly watched by countless totems, overlords, and monarchs. Many gazes landed on its duckbill beast. Ducky was shocked. What was going on? It looked up at the huge turtle in front of it and was immediately shocked. It took a step back on the water. That's it? At this moment, Xianming was immediately stunned when he saw the duckbill beast Shiyu had summoned. Quack! The duckbill beast was stunned. Although it didn't know what was going on, this big turtle seemed to be very arrogant. Chapter 938, 938 Indeed Not a Good Person, 3. 938 Indeed Not a Good Person, 3. What did this big guy say? If it had the ability, why not spar with Big Brother 11 and Big Brother Buggy? The pet you're talking about is this? Xianming looked at the blue duckbill beast and said. It couldn't tell at all how this guy was strong. It was the weakest creature on Inatella Island. Is that the duckbill beast? The contestants and audience of the various countries were also shocked by the so-called second team pet summoned by Shiyu. They had thought of many situations, but they never expected that Shiyu's second team was actually a transcendent duckbill beast. Moreover, its growth level was indeed low, only commander rank. Ducky _? Why did it feel countless disdainful gazes? Damn it, the tyrant dragon was clearly the trashiest. What's the background of this duck? Yu Shu and the others shouted. Only the gem cat, President Lin, and the few experts narrowed their eyes. Duck, let them see your strength and enter a full-strength state, Shiyu said to Duck. Ducky, can I? Ducky was stunned. It suddenly discovered Sister Susu in the distance and immediately expressed its understanding. In its full state, it was very difficult to control it, even if one mastered max-level cleansing. But if Sister Susu was beside him, there would be no problem. Full-strength state? Its strength? Shiyu's words were obscure and difficult to understand, but it undoubtedly made many people widen their eyes. What was so extraordinary about this duckbill beast? Ducky didn't waste any time. It directly took a deep breath and took out a reincarnation bin from a worm silk spatial ring tied to its ankle. This was a modified version of the reincarnation fruit created by baby ginseng. Although it was small, it didn't mean that the medicine was bad. It was condensed into essence. At this moment, as the duckbill beast took out the Black Abyss reincarnation bin from its spatial equipment, Xianming was immediately slightly stunned. He directly sensed the power of time and the abyss from this black bean. What was going on? Quack! If a bean is swallowed, my life is up to me. The duck raised the reincarnation bean high, raised its head, and directly swallowed the reincarnation bean. The scene seemed to have stopped. 1 second, 2 seconds. Boom! A shocking abyssal power erupted from this duckbill beast. Boom, boom, boom. A black light instantly enveloped the duck. The black flames that shot into the sky directly made the water under its feet tremble. The place it stepped on was actually instantly dyed black at this moment. This is... The expressions of the people who had sensed the power fluctuations of the abyss evil spirit changed, revealing incomprehensible expressions. Abyssal power? Moreover, from the fluctuations, it was very strong. Although the quality couldn't compare to that abyss evil spirit, it was still unimaginably strong. Its energy level had definitely reached the overlord level. Quack! In the black flames, Ducky's voice echoed. In the next moment, its body suddenly increased to 10 meters tall. Its muscles were extremely strong. Its blue skin began to be covered in black, leaving only a portion of dark blue patterns. At its neck, the black water froze like a ribbon, becoming a scarf-like part that floated behind it. In just a short moment, its image changed completely. The terrifying aura emitted directly made countless monarchs and overlords reveal shocked expressions. Names: Duck. Race: Abyss Demon Duck, temporary. Attributes: Water, Dark. Level of growth: Overlord. Because it had the will of an overlord, even if the duck's race level was transcendent, its potential level was still that of an overlord. With the help of the time fruit, it could be raised to the overlord level. However, what the duck swallowed was not as simple as the time fruit. It was an abyssal reincarnation fruit specially modified by baby ginseng with the power of the abyss and its physique. It could stimulate the potential of the duck to the greatest extent and let it recover the power of its previous life. In Ducky's previous life, it was the abyss demon duck. It could be said to be the only super genius in the future who came into contact with and controlled the power of the abyss. Just like Xianming, it perfectly controlled the power of the abyss. Although Xianming might be controlling a higher-level divine-level abyss power, and Ducky was only controlling the remnant inheritance power of the abyss, it was undeniable that Ducky had shocking talent in this field and was a perfect match for Susu. Its power was much purer than the abyss traces of the dark elven prince that relied on its bloodline to continue. Roar! The duck's deep red eyes opened. At this moment, the weaker person looking at it felt as if his spirit had fallen into an abyss. In an instant, cold sweat flowed out of his entire body. He was so frightened that he took a step back and sensed an extremely terrifying evil aura. This, Xianming also looked at this monster duck that also mastered the power of the abyss in shock. This guy is... At this moment, not only the totem factions of the ocean, but even the totem factions on land looked at the abyss demon duck and suddenly remembered something. All of them revealed shocked expressions. Could it be? It's the reincarnation of an abyss half-god of a certain generation in the Abyss Sea inheritance, the abyss demon duck. However, unlike the past abyss demigods, the abyss demon duck is a relatively special existence. It took the initiative to come into contact with the power of the abyss and perfectly mastered it without being affected at all. It can be said to be a super genius and monster. Shiyu looked at Xianming and said, it can definitely control the abyss seed. Xianming said in a trembling voice, "Little brat, are you a monster? You actually plan to contract the blue sea sprite and the abyss demon duck at the same time?" Chapter 939, 939 Indeed not a good person, 4. 939 Indeed not a good person, 4. Not to mention Xianming, at this moment, all the factions looked at Shiyu's second team pet in shock. What a joke! Previously, when everyone looked at Kai Tong and saw its evil skills, they felt that Shiyu didn't look like a good person. However, when he saw the blue sea sprite, they realized that Shiyu might be a good person. Otherwise, how could it be recognized by the cleansing god? But now, Shiyu was indeed not a good person. Where did he find this abyssal demigod reincarnation? Second team? Did the blue sea sprite agree? Inatella was silent. The World Tree also watched everything in silence. Only Ducky was extremely happy as it forcefully endured the corrosion of the abyss power. Quack? Was there such a good thing? Could it also be contracted? It was such a difficult thing to enter the first team. As Ducky appeared, the second round of the World Tournament directly ended. Shenming couldn't evaluate Shiyu's behavior, but it still gave the Abyss Seed to Shiyu according to the agreement and let Shiyu do whatever he wanted. If it was this duck, it wasn't impossible for this commander-rank duck to control the power of the Overlord-level Abyss and fuse with the Abyss Seed. It was even more suitable than that blue sea sprite. The end of the second World Tournament trial could be said to be much crazier than the first. The divine inheritance was taken away one after another by a person. The various factions were extremely shocked, but they were extremely afraid of Shiyu. Yes, it wasn't because they were afraid of Donghuang or Dragon Palace City, but because of Shiyu. He had contracted the strongest demigod, the blue sea sprite, and even dared to use the Abyss demigod reincarnation as the second team. Was this Shiyu a demon? It could be said that because of the appearance of the blue sea sprite, Inatella became even more turbulent. However, this had nothing to do with Shiyu anymore. After obtaining the Abyss Seed, he bade farewell to Shenming, the Boar God, the World Tree, and the other gods. There was nothing else to say. Farewell. He had gone to nurture the second team. Every time he obtained new resources, Shiyu was the happiest. This time, the World Tree didn't reveal the information of the third trial. It only said that it would open in the afternoon. In the outside world. After the second trial ended, it was still not calm. Countless representatives of the Ocean Totem factions came to visit Divine Source Legendary and President Lin. They wanted to see Shiyu basically because of the blue sea sprite. Quack! In the legendary ruined space. In the Battle of Susu, it wasted most of the power of the sea cleansing spirit that had been condensed for a long time. It couldn't help but feel a little heartache. After returning, it immediately worked overtime to condense again. As for Ducky, it held the Abyss Seed excitedly and thanked Big Sister Susu. It had already sensed the shocking power contained in this seed. It felt that after eating it, it would become 10 times stronger than eating the Abyss Reincarnation Bean. Don't eat randomly. Shiyu immediately reminded, you have to try to refine it under Susu's protection. Moreover, before you begin, break through to the Monarch level first. After you reach the Monarch level and after Susu reaches the Overlord level, you can start refining this. Only then can you ensure your safety. Susu, keep the Abyss Seed safe for Ducky first. Quack! Ducky agreed without hesitation. It was a small problem. Monarch level, with hard work, it arrived in a few days. Ning. Susu also sighed slightly. Roar. At this moment, in the Mechanical Research Institute, a huge mechanical tyrant dragon also stuck its head out. It looked at Ducky's Abyss Seed seriously and fell into deep thought. Then, it looked eagerly at Ling, who was flying beside Shiyu. Roar. Big Sister. When are you going to fuse the Earth Divine Dragon fossil? It was anxious. The Overlord of the Earth would never admit defeat. Ling looked at it. Similar to Shiyu, it said heartlessly, let's break through your current strength first. When you reach the Monarch level, be it fusing the Earth Divine Dragon fossil or fusing the Abyss Seed, it was possible for their potential to reach the mythical stage. Therefore, they couldn't be sloppy. At the very least, they had to be at the Monarch level to try. Everyone, work harder. Shiyu also chuckled. Team 2 that would counterattack and sweep Team 1 to death. He didn't mind watching the commotion. Chapter 940 Unconventional. 940 Unconventional. Roar. Quack. Under the temptation of the Earth Divine Dragon fossil and the Abyss Seed, The huge earth dragon Little G and the blue fat duck prepared to continue the special training excitedly. Boom! Little G turned and left. The ground trembled, causing Ducky, who turned around together, to frown. Noisy! Shiyu also had a look of disdain. Wait! At this moment, Ling, who was flying beside Shiyu, suddenly stopped Little G and Ducky. Roar? Quack? The overlords of the earth and ocean turned around with puzzled expressions. What other instructions did it have? Go back and take a look at this. Ling took out 2 tablets and threw them to Little G and Ducky, who were confused. This was. Ling said, "This is a brilliant video editing of your Beast Tamers World Tournament. It has your seniors' heroic performance. Remember to observe and learn." Oh? Shiyu looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle and said, "That's thoughtful of you." Ling? Didn't this guy ask it to record it? According to Shiyu's requirements, Shiyu's performance in the World Tournament had to be super clear. It was for the second team, even the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth teams in the future, and even the various armies under him in the country to learn. Little G, Ducky. Roar. Quack. Little G and Ducky's eyes flickered, as if they had seen the video title through the black screen. Team 1 information. Well, if they studied it carefully, they might be able to figure out the weaknesses of the members of the team. For the sake of the future sub-parity counter-superiority, this was a precious learning material. Little G and Ducky put away the tablet as if they had obtained a treasure. In the legendary ruined space, Shiyu stood on the spot and thought for a moment. The World Tree was too much. The interval between each trial was too short. Couldn't they give the contestants 3 to 4 days of rest after the trial? It didn't take care of a consecutive champion contestant like him at all. Although he didn't consume much energy in the morning, the next trial in the afternoon made him not dare to add points randomly, afraid that it would affect his condition. I should continue researching telepathy. Although researching this thing was also exhausting, it was better than adding points. Ling, help me call Baby Ginseng over. Also, supervise 11 and Buggy and tell them to control themselves. All right. Ling quickly flew away. In the ruins, apart from Shiyu's considerate secretary, Ling, the other pets were rubbing their fists. They felt that time was passing too slowly. Kai Tong and Susu, who had finished fighting, wanted to fight again. As for 11, Buggy, and Baby Ginseng, who didn't appear, they couldn't wait. These guys, Ling looked at 11 and Buggy, who were constantly warming up, and sighed. 11 was actually all right. But it was really afraid that Buggy and Baby Ginseng wouldn't be able to stop in time and blow up the entire Inatella. The Yin-Yang Millstone was a single-target skill. Its power was all focused on the enemy. As long as it was controlled well, the aftermath wouldn't be too ridiculous. However, the enemy wasn't the only one who suffered from Buggy's Dragon Star Group meteorite hitting Blue Planet and Baby Ginseng's moon explosion. Moreover, it was difficult for Buggy and Baby Ginseng to control these skills. Ling only hoped that the World Tree, mythical creatures, and demigods could control it. At the moment, only Ling still had rationality. After circling around, Ling called Baby Ginseng, who was researching the energy fruit of the anti-world tournament contestants, over. After obtaining the information, Baby Ginseng had already found a way to deal with every champion candidate after careful research. Yeah? At that moment, after being shouted at by Ling, Baby Ginseng took off its glasses and shook off its white coat with a pleasantly surprised expression. It immediately pushed the door open and crawled underground to find Shiyu. It naturally knew why Shiyu had called it over. Let's study the Heart Domain, World Trees together. After a few experiments, Shiyu and Baby Ginseng already knew very well that the World Tree Domain was very strong. It was completely different from the Yin-Yang and Green Dragon domains. In the outside world, after Shiyu insta-killed the Abyss Evil Spirit, a storm brewed. The legend of the Blue Sea Sprite immediately spread throughout Inatella. Now, most people found it strange. It was said that the Blue Sea Sprite reincarnation could only accept the inheritance of the Blue Sea ruins at the Overlord level. Why did she use Blue Sea Sprite master the racial skill of the Blue Sea Sprite at the Monarch level? Although they didn't know what was going on, it wasn't too important. After all, even a ridiculous thing like the Blue Sea Sprite being contracted had happened. Now, they were more concerned about another problem. How strong was the battle power of the Blue Sea Sprite? The battle power of the undead possessing Shiyu was ridiculously strong, but quasi-totems were already very unsolvable. Now that there was another Blue Sea Sprite, every contestant with the intention to win the World Championship was very silent. For example, the Green Dragon Prince asked the Tyrant Dragon King. In the Dark Void, the Tyrant Dragon King opened its eyes. There's no need to worry. The Blue Sea Sprite reincarnation can easily defeat the Abyssal Evil Spirit. It largely depends on its ability to counter it. In terms of destructive power, that attack is even inferior to a serious totem-level attack. Its growth level hasn't reached the Overlord level yet. The proficiency of the Blue Sea Contract and the Sea Cleansing Spirit won't be very high. At this level, without several years of bitter cultivation, it can't condense a move that's enough to cleanse normal totems. That attack should have exhausted its strength. I see. The Green Dragon Prince heaved a sigh of relief. The demigod factions who were more familiar with the Blue Sea Sprite all deduced. It had to be said that the deductions of many factions were already very accurate. Even with the cheat Infinite Devour, it was not easy for Sutu to condense another totem-level Sea Cleansing Spirit in a short period of time because the time it had received the inheritance was too short.